Have you ever wondered if there really are catfish as big as Volkswagens? They could be, and today we're gonna find out. Today we're going over some fishing myths, or are they myths? You know what I'm saying? They could be true, but today we're gonna find out. That's all I'm saying. So I've got a few guests here that's gonna ask me some questions, and we're gonna find out if they're myths or not. And if they are myths, we're gonna bust them. Fishing myth number 1.
I hear fish don't bite in the rain.
Well, Bubba, that just ain't true.
My name ain't Bubba, and are you sure? Because I don't think fish like getting wet much.
Yeah, this myth is definitely false.
Okay, city slicker, if you're sure, I guess you're smart and all. You know what I'm saying?
To the contrary, fish tend to bite better in the rain. Or should I say, right before the rain. When I grew up, people thought it's because the rain washed stuff off the bank into the lake or the river, so it made the fish go into a feeding. But actually what happens is all fish have air bladders. When the barometric pressure is really high, it puts pressure on their air bladder and they don't feel hungry. Now when that barometric pressure drops, the fish start feeling hungry again and they start feeding. But there is one time that I've found that rain is bad for fishing. I've made a bunch of videos making DIY green lights, and I've made videos on how to use those green lights. Well, the principle of the green light is to attract plankton. So the fish don't bite because of the light, they bite because of the plankton. Right after a rainstorm, it seems like the plankton is spread out all over the place. So the green light fishing don't tend to work real well right after a rainstorm. Know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Fishing myth number 2.
Man, my grandpa told me there's catfish as big as Volkswagens down at the dam, and the divers seen them, so it had to be true.
Well, you see, your grandpa was wrong.
You call my grandpa a liar? Because I'll whip you like a...
You need to calm down. I'm not talking about your grandpa. He was just wrong.
Stupid city slickers think they know everything.
This story is something that every single one of us have heard in America. And there was actually a TV show called Urban Legends, and they went around from town to town to town in America, and they asked people about this story, and every single one of them had heard it.
Yep, I heard there was fish in the Ohio River big as a Pontiac Grand Am. It's true.
You know the story about the divers diving in and fixing the dam, and they seen catfish as big as Volkswagens.
And something just took that 404 and it was gone. I'd had that since 1985. So my cousin, who works for the Army Corps of Engineers, he said they went down there with their sonar and their radar and their scuba diving gear. Said there's catfish down there at the lock and dam as big as Volkswagens. Now boys, I ain't gonna fish where there's fish that big. You get what on the bank, what's gonna happen?
Actually, I've never seen a catfish as big as a Volkswagen, but I have seen a Volkswagen that looked like a catfish. Know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Catfish, the size of cars. We're going to march over there to that dam and we're going to demand answers.
But seriously, this really is an urban legend, and I'm not saying that there's not big catfish out there. I mean, the world record blue now is over 140 pounds, and I'm pretty sure that there's some bigger than that haven't been caught yet. Plus, you have things like the Wales catfish that can get up to 300 pounds. Now, right there is a big freaking catfish, you know. But as big as a 300-pound catfish is, it's still not the size of a Volkswagen. So I'm saying. But hey, I like the story, so I say we just keep on telling it. You know what I'm saying? Go tell your grandkids. I mean, let's keep this thing going. Fishing myth number 3.
I'm gonna tell you right now, colors don't matter. They make all them difficult lures, they make all them difficult lines, and they just don't matter.
Actually, that's a false statement. Colors do matter in fishing.
So you're telling me the color of your boat matters? That fish care what color your boat is? That's just stupid.
You never said nothing about no boat.
Boy, I will slap the hatefulness right out of you. Don't you get hateful with me, because I will slap it right out of you.
You need to calm down. Like I was saying, colors do matter in fishing. How do I explain this one? I'm not a scientist. All the colors in the rainbow comes from the light. Have you ever seen a prism and light shines through it and it shines on the wall and it looks like a rainbow? That's because all the colors we have comes from light. And what the light shines on is only that color because of the texture of it. Sorta. You see, every color that's absorbed into it, you don't see. But the color that it reflects is the color that you see. Anyway, this is too dang scientific. I ain't no scientist. I done told y'all. And since all color comes from light, then when you drop a lure or your line or anything else that's colored in the water, as it goes down through the water column, there's a certain depth that there's not enough light to where you'll be able to see it. And it disappears pretty much. Or it turns gray or something. I don't know, I ain't a fish. I actually did a hack one time and I was talking about red hooks and how all these companies make red hooks because they say that red imitates blood. Well, some of my subscribers, which are pretty smart people, pointed out that red is the first color to disappear in the water column. And that's true, and I never thought about it that way. So basically, if you get a red hook, it's going to disappear faster. Does that make sense? That right there is pretty smart. I'm going to get me some red hooks. But even though certain colors disappear under the water at different levels, color still matters in fishing. If color didn't matter in fishing, then you could use any type of line that you want. I usually bass fish with fluorocarbon line because it disappears in the water. But if you've ever bass fished and you took a colored line, put it on your rod and reel, and tried to catch a fish, then you know it don't work because bass can see it and it matters. They say that line color doesn't matter with crappie, but I still can't use colored line crappie fishing. I just can't do it. But when it comes to catfishing, y'all have seen my catfish rods. I use colored lines so I can see it at night. Because with catfish, colors are not that important. Catfish uses scent over everything. So yeah, colors matter in fishing. That's all I'm saying.
Well, fine then. I'm gonna go buy me some colored lures. And if they work, I'm coming back to slap you. You just remember that.
Fishing myth number 4.
Dude, listen. Them fish go dormant in the winter and don't bite. You can't catch any fish in the winter, okay?
Dude, fish eat all year long.
Dude, you're tripping. I can't catch fish in the winter. They never bite.
They are hard to catch, but they eat all year long. I used to hear that term a lot when I was young. Fish go dormant in the winter. Fish do not go dormant in the winter. Fish are not a bunch of bears that like eat a whole bunch and pack on fat and then hibernate all winter. No, they eat all winter. Fish have to eat to stay alive. Even though the fish aren't dormant in the winter, they are more lethargic, which is a big city slicker word that means they're a lot slower in the winter, okay? If fish didn't eat in the winter, there'd be no such thing as ice fishing, because ice fishing is done in some of the coldest environments in the United States, and they catch fish. I have learned this much. In the winter, you have to change your tactics. Like, for instance, if I'm catfishing in the summer, I'll be anchoring and casting a lot. But in the winter, I'm trolling more. That's why I got all them planer board DIYs. Because if you're trolling, you're taking the bait to the fish instead of waiting for the fish to come to you. Heck, some of my biggest fish have been caught the coldest months of the year. Now, if you're bass fishing or crappie fishing, you still need to change your tactics in the winter. Like, for instance, if you're fishing points, fish deeper points. Me, for crappie and bass, I like to target docks a lot. So you can still target docks, but you're gonna have to target docks that's out in deeper water and you'll do better. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So no, fish don't go dormant in the winter. This one's definitely false. When the water gets colder, fish just tend to be more lethargic. That's all I'm saying. Myth number 5. Now on this last one, I'm gonna bust one of my own myths. For years, I've been saying fish can't smell. You can't smell under the water, okay? And if you use common sense, you can't smell under the water, so it makes a lot of sense. But it turns out I'm kind of wrong, because fish can smell under the water. And it's kind of like tasting and it's kind of like smelling, but they still call it smelling. Because if you think about it, stuff's in the air that we smell and it has to pass through our nostrils for us to pick up on it. Well, fish aren't really that different. Stuff's in the water and it has to pass through their nostril. I went on Google. Yes, Google. And I read some pretty interesting stuff. According to this article on sharks, it says some sharks detect blood at 1 part per million of water and can smell blood up to 1/4 mile away. That's kind of crazy. Told y'all I ain't no scientist. But that's not the crazy part. This is the crazy part. Did you know catfish can detect certain particles 1 part per 10 billion? What that means is catfish can actually smell better than sharks. And if a regular shark can smell something 1/4 mile away, how far can a catfish smell it? You know what I'm saying? But I said all that to say this. If you see fish on your sonar and you throw a big old bloody piece of bait down there and they ain't biting it, they ain't hungry. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? They ain't hungry. That's all I'm saying. Well, that was pretty interesting, wasn't it? Maybe. But if you like crazy videos like this, then you're probably gonna like this video because it's pretty crazy too. I'm just saying. And if you got any unanswered myths, put them in the comment section and I'll get somebody smart to bust them for you. So go over and check that video out because this video is over.